Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our meeting, regular meeting on Sunday evening. And today is, we are continuing from last week in relation to the topic we were discussing about corruption. It's good if we can focus on how can we tackle the corruption that has cost us dearly as a country. So I will make a very small outline for about 10 minutes. And there shall be volunteer presentations after that, if there's any, and then a general discussion to follow. So you all are welcome to make your comments. Don't think that your comment is may not be valid, but that is maybe the most valid thing. So everyone's experience is important. So we welcome everyone to contribute. So going to our crisis, we are in a huge crisis of various essential items. And at the same time, the protests are taking place. But we need rescue from this problem and a recovery from this problem as well. So if you separate out the two things, rescue, this we can do, like reduce wastage. This is something that we discussed last time. And corruption comes a major item in reducing wastage. So we wasted so much public money, and that's one of the reasons why we are in this problem. So we can concentrate on reducing wastage. On the other hand, we also need to increase productivity, and education and energy are two main items that we need to focus on to increase productivity. Education means not just A levels or O levels, but it's the whole population. Then the research and innovations is important, particularly focusing on the problems we have in Sri Lanka. And it has to be obstacle-free, which we can discuss at a later time. So we can do some of these things. We don't have to wait until the politicians make decisions or whatever. But if there's government support for that, that will be good. But we can do it. That is why spreading the message and saying, shall we do these things, then it's good. Then the recovery is a major thing. It will need a lot of debate on various topics. There's need to be a consensus with that and may need some constitutional changes. So it's a long process, but we can still continue to do that. There are so many topics that we can discuss on that. I'll highlight some of that so we can talk about these for the future, like human rights, the right for expression, anti-corruption laws, independent judiciary, independent central bank, independent civil administration, and more. There are lots of things to be discussed for the recovery pathway, but for today, we will discuss on corruption. Just an outline on corruption, which I showed last time, saying the economy has got wastage in it because of corruption. And we know that there are local oligarchs who are corrupt, who have been collecting money through this wastage or corruption. And unfortunately, these same people did not focus much on productivity, on education and energy. And as a result, we are in this problem. So you can see, for example, university admissions, 10% of the advanced level population students being admitted to universities, and the rest have been just left to their own sake. So we have not really focused on that. So instead, our governors have done is taken loans and loans and loans to fill in the economy. That's wasting. And our government debt now is 119% of our GDP. And we are in a really difficult situation. But what's most important for us to know is that who pays for this? We have to pay for it, not the politicians. The working class has to pay for it. That's why everybody needs to get involved and think about this. So this article appeared about a week ago in the Sunday Island, saying political apathy among Sri Lankans is a significant contributory factor to the current state of affairs, which is really true. don't get involved too much into the political aspects. We just go for the elections and then forget it for another 5 years. So get involved, express your opinion constructively and criticize and propose solutions. Do that constantly for us to be getting to the right path. I was looking through and I was surprised to find this editorial in Daily Mirror published on 29th October 2013, 9 years ago. And see the picture, corruption and Sri Lanka has been eaten up. And now we see the results. And this is exactly the print that was there, but I will read it so that people understand what the thinking was 10 years ago. And this says that we do have visionary people who can see what's going to happen and find solutions as well. That's why we need people to come forward. So let me say that, like a political cancer, corruption and hypocrisy appear to be afflicting many areas of society, ranging from party politics to business and sport. And then it goes to say on this one, the Colombo-Katunayake Expressway, declared open last Sunday with wide publicity, is another showpiece of the lack of accountability. According to the Sunday Times, the 25.8 kilometers Colombo-Katunayake Expressway has cost Sri Lanka US dollars 14 million or rupees 1.8 billion a kilometer, around double the cost of the completed 95-kilometer stretch from Kottao to Pinnadu, known as the Southern Expressway. There is the construction of the airport expressway and part of the Southern Highway was handled largely by the Chinese with loans on commercial interest rates from Chinese banks. There is little by way of accountability or transparency in China, and it seems something similar is happening in Sri Lanka also, and no one knows who got how much for these roads. So here, 9 years ago, there was an editorial kind of predicting what's going to come through. Now, if you look at it today, the corruption perception indices, I've shown this last time as well, that these are the countries we want to go for, and they are cleaner countries in relation to corruption. New Zealand, Denmark, Finland, Singapore, Sweden, Switzerland, Australia, Canada, United Kingdom. So they are very good in relation to, they still have corruption, but very minor scale. These are the blue countries we want to go for. But then look at the popular destinations of our government. They always been talking about these countries for the last 10 years. China, India, Sri Lanka here, and then Sierra Leone, Pakistan, Russia, Iran. Their corruption indices are so low, and you can see that their behavior would be very similar to ours. So you can see the opening. Perfect for double deals, as they are just as corrupt as we are. So we fall into the trap. It's about time that we wake up. Since 1971, we have resorted to violence as a resolution to our problems. We, the working class, paid dearly for all this property and human life damage. So now we must really denounce violence. There are no winners in violence. We all are the losers. So violence is not the way we can resolve the issues. And we've discussed this one last time, and then there was suggestion, even Mirihana movement was a false flag operation. And there's also talk about that even the carnage that happened in Easter Sunday in 2019 was also a false flag operation. Means diabolical, pathetic, and immoral. And those are extreme levels of corruption. So why should we talk about this? Because corruption is a serious crime that undermines social and economic development and weakens the fabric of modern day society. So that's why we are discussing this. Corruption is misuse of public power for private benefit. Now, this is a good definition for us to keep in mind so that we can identify corruption. If somebody is using public power for private benefit, that's corruption. Politicians, managers, government officials may all be involved in this. But we see more, like people use religion for their private benefit. People use the speaking language of others for their private benefit. People use ethnicity for private benefit. And there's more for private benefit that's being used. So corruption is wide and it's dynamic and evolving. So public awareness is crucial to tackle it. So this is what we are trying to do, but don't give up. Say, look at the end of World War II, Germany had a debt of US dollars 269 billion. Japan had a debt of 200% of GDP. But look at the recovery. They did recovery. That's the GDP that's gone up. In Germany, that's how the Japan recovered. So Sri Lanka, do not give up Sri Lanka. We can recover. So this is the message that we want to press. So we focus more actively to try to get that. So the discussion is to follow. And I think there are some people who have some slides to present. And if you can raise your hands on the thing, I may be able to find who has got slides and put you on as we go. And it's also season, New Year season, and please promote your religious and cultural well. That is what we are about. We are Sri Lankans, and we need our religious and cultural values and live in harmony, respect each other. So I'm going to stop share my screen from here. So Professor Dharmendra has got some slides.
Right. Thank you very much. Can you see my slides now?
Yeah, we can see the slides. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. Again, what I did was I prepared 5 slides just to contribute in my own area, energy sector, just concentrating only.
Dharme, you have to select the, what do you call the presentation mode, I think.
Presentation mode.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Also, I will get my point as well. Thank you. Right. What I want to do is some thoughts for development of the energy sector in Sri Lanka. So I'm just focusing only in that area. Just to give you what I'm going to talk, people power should lead to establish an uncorrupt, good government in the future. So we must go through non-violence process. It's going through, hopefully, it will give us a good government in the future. Then the government and the people should work together to build up the country. We should not depend only on the government. We should work together hand in hand. Now, these few minutes, discussion brings some thoughts for the good government and also for the workforce, that is for people, to work together. So let us take one thing, how to end gas polymer. I'm using the polymer word, Sinhala word, because it sounds better. So how to end gas polymer? This is one real problem in the country. We don't have money to import gas, so people don't have money, don't have gas to buy. So why don't we go for these DIY systems? Make your own biogas using waste from the kitchen and using materials from our surroundings. We are an agricultural country. We have a lot of waste. You go to Moratuwa University, there are beautiful systems developed and they are using biogas. Go to Umandava if you're close to it, and they are using biogas. And there are so many people around the country using biogas, but this is not scaled up. This is the time for entrepreneurs to come and scale it up and spread out throughout the whole country and say goodbye to Rata gas, because people always look for things coming from outside. So that is something we need to do, say goodbye to Rata gas, and those long gas pollings will disappear. So that is one thing we have to do. People have to think. Yes, you may have to work a little bit hard to fill these up with the materials, but once you do it, you can get your own biogas to do things at home. So, and also that will help you to reduce waste you produce to the council to process. That is also another advantage. And create organic manure for your home garden. Now, these systems, can you see, it's very simple. You can have a very large tank if you want. You need only this tube and that one, and seal this, and you get biogas from there. And just see how simple it is. You need a system. You can have it like this, or you can build it underground if you want. You need slurry inlet and also slurry outlet. And from time to time, you can take these ones out, and that will be your manure, organic manure for your home garden, and we can do things. So that is how to end gas polymer. Let us talk about the power cuts, how to survive during long hours of power cuts. Unfortunately, these systems have taken us by 3 decades. We were promoting these solar home systems, standalone solar home systems in 1980s and 1990s. I pulled this slide out from my previous talks given out. So in early 1990s, these were promoted only for people not connected to the national grid. We had a lot of people not connected to the national grid. For some reason, during the last 3 decades, grid has expanded, but now people have 13, 14 hours of power cuts. So by during that time, in fact, we had 130,000 homes were lit by these systems in Sri Lanka. That is about 6.5 megawatt using LEDs. This system is simple. It is 1 or 2 solar panels, about 60 watts. This is the smallest system. Store the power in a car battery or a lorry battery during the daytime. During the nighttime, use LED lights, power for the radio, power for the television. That's all. The smallest system is about 25,000 rupees. So you don't want to be in the dark. Even the smallest family can have one of these systems. We have 60 active solar companies in the country now. I think they should take the lead. They should install them. But depending on the capability of the family, they can increase the size of these solar panels. They can go up to 5 kilowatts and 6 kilowatts. Then it becomes a solar roof. And of course, you can go for any system these days. Of course, if the national grid is not working, it is useless, but try to use that energy to do things at home, and you will not be in the dark. So go for solar energy with confidence, and we don't have to wait for energy coming from burning coal or oil, because we have to import them. Our bill is so high. Number 3, how to reduce petrol and diesel pollings. Now, we know that 250 years ago, the whole world went to use fossil fuel, coal, petrol, diesel, and gas. Now, whole world is working to move away from fossil fuels, coal, liquid, and gas. Therefore, because of the pollution. Therefore, we also think that way. We need to go away from that. But when we had a conference in 1992, the Ceylon Electricity Board came and said, future of Sri Lanka is coal, coal, coal. No, that can't be right. That is corruption. That is mainly because they import coal, they get the commission, and these few individuals use those commission, utterly corrupt. And of course, they can't do it without support from the government ministries. That is corruption. That is why we are in this situation. So we need to think about how to reduce these. We need to go with the world. We need to think about ways of using our own indigenous energy sources. To reduce some of these, we have to gradually reduce this. Ethanol, Kasipu in villages language. We produce a lot of ethanol and we fill the human engines with Kasipu. If you go to Brazil, 35% of the petrol and diesel are mixed with ethanol. So we can use this Kasipu ethanol to mix with petrol and diesel and reduce our consumption, imported petrol and diesel consumption. So that way we can reduce a little bit of our import bill. Now, what we have to do, gradually move towards electric vehicles. That is the way we can get rid of this petrol and diesel and charge these using renewables. Solar and wind, our indigenous energy sources, charge them with solar and wind. This can be a slow transition in Sri Lanka. It will not happen within few years. But think about Norway. Norway is trying to do this by 2025. That is only about 3-4 years. And I checked yesterday, in Norway, they have 500,000 electric cars. Why they are doing it? To get rid of petrol and diesel. In UK, they have prohibited manufacturing petrol and diesel cars by 2030. That is in 8 or 9 years' time. Sri Lanka will have to use our cars until they completely used up. So it will take time, but we have to think, we have to move towards the clean energy sources. So people need to think. When I joined Sheffield Hallam University in 1990, 30 years ago, I was paying only 30 pence per litre. Today, it is about 164 pence. That is about 5 or 6 times high. That is going to happen. So people have to recognize if we stick to these fossil fuel, their cost is going to go up. Whatever the government comes to rule the country cannot reduce that cost. People have to recognize it. We all have to work together. So that is how to reduce petrol and diesel pollings. Number 4, move towards indigenous energy sources. This is in fact for the whole country, whole government, good government coming in the future, and also for people. We have to use energy technology mix to power our country. These are the energy mixture we like to have. Fossil fuel, that is in amber. I will tell you why. Hydropower, solar, wind, biomass and biogas. These are the indigenous energy sources. These are in green. We all have to go through it. People have to do it. Government should provide facilities and funds. And the government should have a long-term energy production plan for the country. Don't allow CEB to do things as they want. What we have to do is accelerate introduction of renewables, improve water management, that is just to get hydropower, keep that at least at that level if we can't improve. When time comes, gradually phase out fossil fuel. In Sri Lanka, it may take 1 decade, perhaps more than that, because we have these coal power plants, oil power plants. We have to maintain them properly. We have to use them until the renewables come and give us enough energy. It is not wise to build new fossil fuel plants because the whole world is going in the opposite direction. The cost is going to be very high. Import bill is going to go up. So the solar and wind are well established now. Hydrogen produced by water splitting will be the future energy storage and energy carrier. That will remove the intermittency of solar and wind. So delivery time is only 1 or 2 years. Not like building a power plant, coal power plant. It may take 10 years. So the current PV solar installation rate is over 140 gigawatts per annum. Can you see the rate here? Why? The solar is coming cheap. Everybody is using it around the globe. And the Sri Lankan community should go forward with confidence and install these in their homes, solar home systems, and use this so that we can, because our whole energy production is 3 or 4 gigawatt at the moment. Just imagine if we have 1,000 systems, 5 kilowatts, solar roofs, that is 5 gigawatts. That is during daytime, we have 5 gigawatts. That is huge amount of power. Now, this is my last slide. Establish solar villages to develop every corner of the country. Now, solar village have been designed, piloted, and now replicating in Sri Lanka. 5 solar villages have been established and currently working on 4 more villages. Now, these projects are to empower needy communities and accelerate their sustainable development to escape from poverty traps. Communities are guided to work together without corruption. We have to start from the school. We have to start from the community. We have to say no to corruption. I will tell you, this is the solar village in Nochia. This is our solar roof, 6 kilowatt solar roof. And these people are empowered to work together. And they are working beautifully. They use those funds for microfinance. And when I talked to them 2 years ago before COVID, they said, sir, we have developed our community in our village development community account. We have 4.5 million accumulated. That is 45 lakhs. Just imagine, this is a very rural village. This is a good lesson for Sri Lankan villagers, all Sri Lankans. We can develop the whole country, but remember, these projects are now done by donors and also charities. With charity money, we cannot develop a country. A good government must come and see the benefits of these projects, and they should replicate these projects around the country so that we can develop the country so that we don't eliminate any corner of the country. Country will be beautifully developed. These are the right projects we have designed and piloted, and we are promoting, we are educating people. I hope people will take this very seriously. Please use this YouTube, and you can see all the details there. I hope people will wake up to these important ideas and develop our society. That is the way forward. Thank you very much, Shula. Those are my 5 slides. I will stop sharing it.
Great. Thank you so much for suggesting so many aspects and so many projects that we can get involved to get Sri Lanka out of this trouble. And please, the listeners, if there's anyone who is interested in any of these things, please write to us or Professor Dharmadasa. We've advertised his email on our website as well. So this is one way we can work together and try and improve ourselves. And there's expertise available completely free of charge. So please do communicate with anyone who wants to get involved, and then we should be able to go forward from there. Anything to contribute in relation to this, please talk. And because Professor Lakshman Dissanayake is going to talk after this.
I am Abhishek here. I have a few comments. Is it okay for me to talk for
Please,
about?
please.
Yeah, actually, Professor Dharmadasa's size and what he said was very, very correct. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we have been reading about these technologies for a long time, more than 20 years in Sri Lanka. And media reported the same thing what Professor Dharmadas was talking. And I wonder why the government or the power ministers or their advisors are not taking these things seriously. As public actors, we can't take them seriously, because suppose if I want to buy a power energy car, I can't unless the government takes some action to import such vehicles. Or the government has to plan. Government or the power minister or somebody has to plan. Why the advisors to the ministers are not capable of giving the correct advices to the either to the ministers or the prime minister or the president. Why the best advice is not given to those people? Then of course they will take action.
Thank you very much, Ms. Abhay Singh, raising this. I must tell you, Professor Lakshman Disanayake here, we researchers in renewables started to promote this from 1992 with a higher education link program. We talked to every science and technology minister in the country afterwards, from Mr. Bernard Soisa onwards. During that time, of course, there were 2 or 3 solar energy companies struggling to install, but today we have 60 solar energy companies installing solar. So that way, in the private sector, it has developed. We are very happy to see that. But we have spoken to every science and technology minister, every power and energy minister, and I have personally spoken to last 2 presidents, not the current one, the before that. Things don't happen. You ask this reason because they are very interested when they listen, but there is no commission in this project. That is corruption. That is corruption, because the total amount goes to help the needy people in the country. They don't have anything going in their pocket. That is the corruption. That is the reason the government is not taking it up. The whole reason is corruption.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's a hand raised by Mervin as well. And Kirti, do you want to follow on or you want to talk later?
Yeah, just want to build on Dharme's presentation. Obviously, our overall theme is corruption, and a lot of these things are interlinked, why things have not happened. I'm just purely concentrating on the present climate, where the nation is desperately hungry for power and suffering day after day without electricity. So in a way, some of those examples of solar villages, remote villages, not connected to the grid, are having an easier time compared to the people, the townsfolk, struggling without power. So in a way, they will be far more receptive in the middle of all these things to the idea of a solar panel, the benefit of solar energy. So there's the downside, because the inflation is so high and the price of all these items could be quite expensive while people are struggling. But on the other hand, and if the benefits of solar panel, and they could have electricity when the grid isn't supplying, they can watch television or they can have Wi-Fi, I think the nation, the country will be far more receptive to take on board having their own solar panel or 2 in their own home. So in a way, I mean, this is an ideal time to push that idea, make it more widely known, because a lot more people will sign up to it if it was done in the middle of all the other crises.
Yeah, I mean, we are publicizing all what we are talking in our website, so it's available for anybody to go through. But at the same time, I think Professor Dharmandas has published his email to be contacted at any time to go through, because he's got lots of good ideas in relation to energy, and you don't have to 100% depend on the government.
Yeah.
But if the public is actually demanding more and more, then I think the government will be more receptive. And I mean, as you know, in the world, the mobile phones became available in 60s, but it took off in 80s. It's taken years for people to see the values. So that's why it's important to keep spreading the message and get it going. I'm sure the Sri Lanka will pick up very quickly if we can engage and spread the message saying this kind of help is available for people to go forward.
Yeah.
Kirti, if it's related to this topic, you can talk, because Professor Lakshman Disanayake also wanted to talk.
In fact, I do have several comments to make. Obviously, solar power is a very important subject. We should promote that. But there are 3 topics I want to talk very briefly, but I would go after Professor Disanayake.
Okay. Lakshman, it's your time now.
Okay,
You there?
thank you, Chula. Thank you, others. The very short answer to the question raised by Abe is why the government is not pushing these solar and other renewable energy programs. One short answer is the corruption. Right. So let me speak few words within the main topic today. That is the corruption. I jotted down some ideas from some TV discussions recently held in our local TV. And also I got some ideas from Singapore, how they overcame the corruption. So I'll spend about 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes maybe, just highlighting these ideas. Okay, what I got from these TV discussions last few days regarding the corruption is one from a group discussion which included a former chairman of the Bribery Commission of Sri Lanka and a few other key people. I don't want to mention the names now. So the main points they raised was, if we want to avoid corruption in a society, taking Sri Lanka as an example, you activate the procurement commission. Sri Lanka has a procurement commission which deals with calling for quotations in big projects, and politicians are not involved, and that is not active now. Somehow there is a commission which is not active. So activate the procurement commission. And transparency in bid dealings, especially with regard to the large projects. The transparency, you have to display on the web of the procurement divisions of each ministry, the quotations and what is the selection process. So 100% transparency, that is number two. Stop this, what is called the emergency purchasing, which has become a routine thing now from the last government or even before. They don't go through the normal procurement process. They make some, especially in the case of Ceylon Electricity Board, purchasing emergency power. So other countries, I don't think they have this kind of thing. Maybe, I'm not sure. Then in capital letters, politicians should not get involved in business. It's a very simple and straightforward condition practiced in many developed countries, and politicians should never get involved in business. So in Sri Lanka, I don't know how to do this because 95% of the politicians are involved in business. Recently, I saw in the parliament, a couple of weeks back, 2 MPs, state ministers probably, they are fighting with each other. The problem was one MP has got 100 kilometers of road to develop. The other person has got 125 kilometers. So they are fighting with each other for the 25 kilometers. So you can see the level of business penetrated into the political system. And this chairman of the Bribery Commission said another very efficient way of stopping this is right from the start. At the time of calling for quotations or whatever the process, at the very first time, starting from the application, you make the process transparent and have checks and guards to make sure even later no politicians can get involved in the process. Because what happens now is everything goes through and they do the deal, and finally it is presented to the, you sue the people and present to the courts, and due to some technical issue, they reject the case. So that will not happen if you start right from the beginning, this process. So those are some of the ideas I got from those TV discussions. Then going back to the Singapore model, Singapore started this whole thing during Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew's period, especially a very famous white paper presented in 1994. So I have 5-6 points. Let me summarize. They highlight the creation of an efficient public service and competent and honest political leadership. Okay, that's a model. Efficient public service coupled with an honest political leadership. Then this particular white paper also deals with both major and minor cases of public and private sector corruption, regardless of the amount, rank, and status of the persons under investigation. Every corruption is dealt through, irrespective of the political affiliation or nature of the person. Then number 3 is Lee Kuan Yew said in 1994, we need good men to have a good government. However, having a good system of government is not sufficient. If you have the good system of government with bad leaders, will bring harm to the nation. So not enough to have a good system, but the political leaders has to be honest and genuine and corruption free. So based on this, they developed a very highly skilled, educated human resources pool to undertake the public administration system, like our ministry secretaries of that level, decision making at the highest level, a top and honest, educated set of civil servants heading those ministries and the decision making process. Very competent civil servants. And they are independent, no political pressure on them. So this by this particular white paper, and there are other laws enacted later. And also they gave highest priority to the education, to develop their education, targeting the best and the brightest student in Singapore. The idea is for them to become the top level public servants and drawing high salaries comparable to the private sector companies. So highly educated, competent set of people. So we have to develop the education to produce these set of future public servants in the country. So those are the few ideas I jotted down. In relation to the corruption, we can discuss how in Sri Lanka, how we can make use of these ideas. Thank you.
I think you made a fantastic summary of everything that we want to do. It's a big job to do, and I'm sure we can certainly go forward and do all these things. So basically, what you are summarizing comes into what is called good governance,
Yes.
and for a start, we need an independent judiciary and independent central finance to
Yes.
to get these things done. So we can do it, but we need to focus on that. And I'm actually thinking about discussion on good governance later on, so you can maybe make a presentation on these ideas. So shall we, any other comments on the presentation for Lakshman?
Yes, I before I come to my own kind of, I don't have a presentation pack, but I have a few things to talk about.
Yeah.
But before that, I like to comment few remarks about what Lakshman said. The Procurement Commission, that's an absolute necessity. It should be functioning. Of course, if it is functioning, politicians can't steal money, so they don't want that. Now the transparency, no question about it, we must have the transparency. The comment about the politicians should not take part in business. Now I can talk about I lived in UK and Germany, I can talk about those two systems. Neither in UK nor in Germany or any other developed country, people making decisions about finances or projects they cannot have any interest whatsoever in those projects. That's the principle. I personally know this because I have been through various issues. No single person, whether it's in a private company or in the government or a council or wherever, they are not allowed to take part in decision making if their family or their friends are involved in the business supporting those activities. But in Sri Lanka, they do it 100%, which is completely wrong. So one other thing, I think perhaps Abhay Singh mentioned this, we don't have any long-term planning. So we must have long-term planning. So those are the comments I want to make about what I want to discuss before. But when others are ready, I need to talk about 2-3 items in specifically related to corruption. So I'll come back later. I think it's Mervin's time to talk.
Yeah, I was just waiting for Chula. I'm happy to come in and make a couple of comments. One was about the Singapore model. Obviously, Singapore is close enough to Sri Lanka, and even for good treatment, a lot of our high earners, politicians go to Singapore as a place of excellence. So also Asian country, therefore, it's quite easy to emulate. So in a way, unashamedly, we can adapt it provided there is the will. Now, one of the things where Sri Lanka, it looks like more like deliberately have decided to get into where we are, the downward spiral, is sabotaging our own systems. We have educated people in the country. A lot of people, we put so much importance to our education, work very hard, go to tuition classes, get grades. But it's very much the current thinking is like the Indian model, memorizing facts and displaying grades rather than critical thinking. What we need is informed and assertive people, critical people who can think critically, educated people. So they don't have to accept it just because it comes from the teacher or somebody of importance, that they can think independently for themselves, confident enough to assert themselves and challenge if they don't agree. So that way they can hold people to account and question when things go on. So that is something that we need to empower our populations, particularly the younger people, to think for themselves and question things and be better informed, especially in this age of technology. You know, what we see so much young people actively engage, and they need to be a lot more actively engaged. I think, Chula, earlier on in your presentation, you mentioned newspaper quotation that Sri Lankans are very hands-off. We'll vote somebody into power and let them run their show. And until we get to a critical time like this, people don't come onto streets. Whereas in the Western world, particularly in Britain, I can speak for, and the media are constantly watching. Therefore, the politicians think twice before causing any mischief, and they can't get away lightly. We need to get into that climate. It is our country. We vote people into power. They are there to serve us. And we need to, I think in the NHS language, we need to shift the balance of power and empower the population. And the elected people are not our masters, they are our servants. And we give them the brief to serve us. If they are not up to the job, we need to hold them to account. And I think we need to change that mindset. That is one of the important part of the education, empowering, informing our population, our future generation, to give the country a future. Until that time happens, and we have this servile mentality that allows anybody and everybody to come and exploit the country. Leaving that point there, I just became party to a piece of news today. I just want to very briefly share with you in case you may be aware, that caused me concern, which was with all the difficulties and shortages going on. Apparently, China is offering relief to the country, but they have chosen to give, distribute whatever their donations through the political parties. And I'm all for providing help to the people in need. Is this their way of their corrupting way of buying an insurance policy regardless of which party comes to power, that we stay they are in favor? So I just became aware of it. I'm just raising the flag, because often this open door has left us very vulnerable or open to be corrupted, particularly the decision makers. I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think you got very valid points, Mervyn. And I mean, we must gather our senior people who has so experience and expertise, and they've got examples of various things that has happened. And we must gather our juniors or people who are young to come and listen to these things so that they learn from what has been discussed. And corruption is at the hilt, as you mentioned, and I showed you corruption indices. China and us, we are at the same brand, and you can see what is happening. So they are double deals. All these donations and everything else, what is coming through are double deals. Somebody is earning the money out of all this. So we know that, but we'll take from there. Yes, Kirti. And I think there's Vijita who wants to talk as well.
Right. Shall I go ahead?
Yes, please. Okay.
So this is about, I want to make 3 points about corruption. What I'm trying to do is to take a step back and look at the situation from a distance without getting inside. Now, one of the first things, I know this is not going to be easy. One of the first things, we should have a national policy that at least 50% of the products used in Sri Lanka should be manufactured or produced in Sri Lanka. At least 50%. I don't know what percentage is at the moment, but it feels as if at the moment in Sri Lanka, they have about more than 90% things important, including rice. So we have to change it around completely, though, that at least 50% of the products should be manufactured or grown in Sri Lanka. So that must be a national policy. So that would lead to less and less corruption. That would empower the people. So that's one point. The other thing is the corruption is not seen as corruption by many people. It's a mindset. Most people think, oh, I get a 10% commission. That's not corruption. I'm providing a service. Now that mindset needs to be changed. It's easy to say. It's easy for me to say that. It takes years and years to change it. So we might have to start by school children and gradually train them to think differently. So you might see the results in maybe 15 years' time. But the next thing that I'm going to talk about is far more important. It can be applied today and tomorrow, immediately. One of the key things, what we are not doing in Sri Lanka is whenever we have a project, we have some idea, we want to do this, immediately the politicians get hold of that. They just want to do it. Some of these ideas are not bad things, they are good things. But what they're doing is they never do a cost and benefit analysis. They never do a risk and opportunities analysis. They just borrow the money, do the damn thing, and 10 years later, there is no profit. We are not earning anything from those projects. So any project we do, it doesn't matter what it is. First thing we should do is establish the cost and benefits. If the costs are bigger than the benefits in the next 5 years, forget about it. I'm saying 5 years as an example. In fact, in the organization that I used to work, without giving the name, we wouldn't do a project unless we can see the benefits in 3 years. But 3 years is a bit short, I think. I would give 5 years. So any project they do, they must show that the benefits are outweighing the costs within 5 years. So that's one aspect. The other thing is, any project they do, they must do a risk analysis. So sometimes when they start projects, they may look good, they may sound good, brilliant, but something happens halfway through, the entire thing goes haywire. So if we had done a risk analysis and opportunity analysis, we would have known that in advance. So any activity, especially the larger projects in Sri Lanka, funded through government or foreign loans, they must do a cost and benefit analysis and risk and opportunities analysis, and they must have a plan for at least 5 years or more. So those are the key points I wanted to make. I'm prepared to answer any questions if there is anybody. Thank you.
Okay, I think your suggestions were perfectly correct, and they come under the umbrella term called feasibility studies or quality assurance. So these are things are completely forgotten in our projects. Feasibility projects studies are not complete, and various impacts not being assessed, and so on. So this is something that we have to push for and get all this into enacted. It has to come in the law at some point. So then only it will be properly implemented. So I'm planning to kind of have these discussions. One important aspect is agro-modernization, where 2/3 of the country is farmers, and we need to do that. And school children education, what to be taught is another aspect that you need to focus, which we need to talk separately. I mean, we are not even teaching children how to cross the road at the moment. So we need to get to those things, but I will try to organize this in the future. And let's ask Vijita, he wants to talk something. Is he there? Vijita, are you there? Vijita?
There was somebody with a phone number, but I think he has
Vijita
disappeared.
has a guest by name, but I can unmute him. Let me see. I've sent a message say asking unmute. Vijita, are you there? Okay, he's not there. He's
Can I have 2 minutes?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes, actually, this is again to agree with Kirti. The first important thing is importing. Actually, now at the moment, I am in Sri Lanka, living in Kandy. Now we are entertaining rice from China and rice from India. So now it is a cultivable country. So not only rice, actually, as Keith was telling, many things are imported as not 90%, sometimes maybe even potatoes, vegetables are also imported. So somebody has to take very serious action to stop those things. I don't know whether we can do anything, but again, the minister regarding that matter has to take firm action to stop importing the things which can be produced in Sri Lanka. So that's one thing. Other thing is, I think a number of you talked about the intervention, coming the youth into discussion and to take actions. Actually, now, according to when I see these rallies recently, most of the people are not all guys, they are all young people. Now they have understood the situation and they have come forward. But the problem is, will this continue? So this has to continue. That means youth has to take all the actions and they have to understand the real situation in Sri Lanka and take some firm steps. Now I think somebody was telling that good government has to come. So with this government, I don't think even youth can do anything because there are so many forces going against youth. So sometimes most of the youth, these youths will be killed in 2-3 weeks time, most probably. That's how the things happening in Sri Lanka. So I hope youth will stand firmly to force the government to take real correct action. And I think including Kirti, number of people have mentioned, I also agree that education, the education method, the curricula has to be changed and updated every year. But it is not happening now. I know the Maharagama NIE is not taking that properly because in other countries, the curricula is updated every year, but it's not happening here. And I think is regarding with the corruption, even students, even small students know that corruption is there. Because when you want to admit a student to a school, good school, that principal of the school request or some teachers request some money. It is very open secret in Sri Lanka. and the money is distributed among some gang who are supporting the admission of that child, and he is admitted, and even the child knows that some parents have given some money to the teachers. So that is one of the corruption. So therefore, the main topic is corruption. All the corruption in all levels has to be stopped in Sri Lanka by anyhow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, the best would be if we can get zero tolerance corruption in the constitution, then it will put a stop legal to most of these things. But I don't think there'll be a single hand in the parliament to raise in favor of a bill saying zero tolerance in corruption. But we'll get there. I think, you know, we have been depending on top-down activities, but I think we have to go bottom up, means normal population should start to discuss, educate, and spread the message. The protests are important, but the problem with the protests, I mean, what I've experienced, I've seen the protests for years and years, but it get hijacked. So you get a natural protest by natural people with grievances, then it get hijacked by same politicians who are saying they're doing whatever. And then it becomes a political struggle. And then what happens is then the whole idea of that protest get hijacked in favor of another group who are corrupt. This is the issue that's been going on for years and years and years. Yeah. So I think the education in this way is very difficult to be corrupt or hijacked by anybody, because people are speaking, and the best is to spread the message and educate more people to come forward and discuss certain things. So that way we will be able to spread the message to the younger people, so they have to come forward. I mean, I know young people, I've invited young people to this, they're following this, but unfortunately they're so engaged in trying to bridge the income gap. So they hardly have any time to do anything else other than to go to work or do something extra to survive. So this is a situation for younger people at the moment, but I know they are getting the message because we are recording it and publishing it. So we'll get there, we'll get there. Thank you for all that, Professor Ratnayake. Thank you. Any other comments at the moment?
Yeah. Can I come in again?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I can't help but notice just a week ago in Manchester International Airport, which is our local airport here, and it's the Easter holiday season. After 2 years of COVID and lockdown, there's quite a lot of demand for people wanting to fly out. So it's normally known in Britain that, you know, Easter holidays, people escape to warmer places like Spain and Greece and places. And unfortunately, there is still the COVID spreading, so high level of sickness and absence among airline crew. So number of flights couldn't take off. There was a big backlog and people are stuck in the queues for 12 hours, 24 hours. This is local people wanting to fly out on holiday, not being able to get there. So people got very angry, annoyed, protesting for not being able to board the plane, not lack of gas or lack of food or anything, not being able to go on holiday. And the lady in charge, the chief exec, resigned because she could not deliver the service. Now that's the honorable thing to do. Yeah, nobody died in a fuel queue or anything like that. This woman resigned, saying, I could not meet your expectations. I couldn't deliver the service. Yeah, I'll make way for somebody who can do that. And I'm contrasting that with our leadership, who are very keen to gather all the power and mislead or can't deliver, but never ever take responsibility, never have the decency to step down and make way for anybody else. And I think that is an example a good leader should learn to, you know, if you are taking that responsibility, you need to take responsibility, yeah, the buck should stop with you. I think that is unfortunately an example Sri Lankan youth and children don't get to see. You know, in developed countries where things are successful and leaders, they take responsibility when they can't deliver and do the honorable thing.
Yeah, I mean, that is because they have a method to make them accountable as well. So they can't just stay there and do nothing. So it's a long way to go for us to get to that level, but we should try. And I think there's somebody else. Salinda has raised hand. Salinda.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah,
we
I'm
can.
Salim the Mahalekam. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to raise a question. I mean, we are talking about the prevention of corruption in Sri Lanka. Now, there is a bit of a general consensus these days that a new amendment is coming into the parliament. Opposition is talking about it. And is there any possibility that a civil organization or any other pressure group can submit a proposal that all political leaders, including present and past, and all senior government servants to declare their assets and liabilities, and those who cannot prove their income for that assets to be taken about to the government. This is a critical moment that they all been pressurized. They all had to sit down and do something and listen to what people are asking for. So is there any link that we could create or talk to somebody to get this message across to the parliament?
Kirti, you raised the hand. You want to answer?
Yes, I mean, that's a very important and a very good point. However, nobody in the parliament would agree to do that. But what we should do is, we should make as many people as possible aware that's the right thing to do. The government officials, senior officials, and the ministers and the MPs, everybody, they must declare their income and where they get it from. Not only now, if they have enormous income, they should show how they got it in the last 10, 15 years as well. Now, they are not going to do it voluntarily, but people, if everybody start demanding this, if we start a movement, maybe in a year's time, if 100,000 people demand, politicians will start getting the message, and eventually they will do it, but it will take a lot of effort.
But I think now we have come to a stage now that they can't ignore our request. So all this is, nobody expected this kind of upsurgence in Sri Lanka. So now this is the time that we should get together and put pressure on the politicians.
Yes, we must put pressure, but legally they don't have to listen to us. They would always hide behind the current constitution. They would always hide behind the current rules. And they say, look, we don't have to do it. So until and unless we change the laws, that will be the same. But we cannot change the laws unless we have plenty of MPs who are willing to vote for that. But that will take several years.
No, I think we should still raise the points, but I know the difficulty in getting anything done through the parliament because I've been involved with things of that does not affect the politicians. Now, these kind of things affect the politicians, but it's still difficult because they will look for the masses' opinions. For whatever they do, they will look at masses' opinions. So if the public masses are gathering for a particular opinion, then it's more likely to happen, not by just producing a paper or doing a discussion. So getting the public involved and letting them know about this, then it comes up and then it might happen to some extent. Other than that, it does not happen by speaking to them or producing a paper or something. So informing the public and then getting the masses to raise their hand in the way they want is one way of creating that corner or that pathway to get something done. And particularly when you're talking about corruption and if you talk about anti-corruption laws in the parliament, I mean, you will see that I don't know whether there'll be even 5% who is corruption free at the moment in the parliament. So I mean, you are asking the culprit to raise the hand against them, and it may not happen.
I know that. But the thing is, if we have at least have a kind of a stage approach into this, at least the government servants, I know that we are blaming politicians all the time, but 50% of the blame should go into the government servants, the high-ranking officers. They are more corrupt than the politicians. So if the politicians can get together and kind of make some sort of rules where at least the government servants can't do the corruption or involved with any of those work, then that would be good enough to start with.
Yeah, true. We can do that. We can try to pressurize. What I'm saying is the effort versus the outcome. So you have 100% effort, you might have 1% outcome. So this is why we have to go with the masses, educate them, and then we will be able to get there. We can still keep the targets or the goal to achieve it. I mean, I know this because, for example, many years ago, I mean, I was working at Peradeniya, and then we were looking at the card app. Now, the card app approved for Peradeniya for domestic workers was 125. When we look at the payroll, there were 725. So all the others were appointed by politicians into the system. And if you want to find anyone, you can't find anybody. So this is the kind of corruption that's going on. It's huge. It's and people don't know it. And so this is just I mean, I can say a lot of other things that I've experienced myself, but we talk about it at a later point. Yeah. Anybody else who wants to talk? There are two people again raise hands.
Right. Just to come in again, I fully support what you're saying, Chula, that we have to raise the awareness of the people, and we must get the people to raise their voices. Now, I think Salinda suggested that we should at least bring a law to penalize the senior officials. But the reality is, the senior officials, what they do is, I know this is not first hand, but I know this is second hand. The senior official get the big chunk of money as bribe from, let's say, the Chinese bank. So his job is to keep his share and give the rest to his boss who is in the parliament. So the MPs will never bring such a law. So the only way is to average people to make a lot of noise, hundreds and thousands of them. So,
yeah, I agree. So let's go forward. I'm trying to recruit as many people into these discussions. Let's do it for, say, a few months, see how it's gathering. And if we got sufficient force to do something, let's do it. There's no problem. I'm quite happy to get involved and see what happens, because I think we need to have a mindset of this openness and then selfless kind of contribution so that we get involved directly and go forward. I mean, at the moment, we got many good ideas that has come through, and even for the energy crisis, we got other options that's been proposed, and we can implement things like biogas or something. If you want to do it at home, get some help doing that. So we got lots of good ideas that's come through. We got many things that were suggested here is actually what we need in for a good governance. And that's why I separated out the two activities that we're doing for rescue and recovery. Recovery is a very long process. Rescue, we can do ourselves. We don't need the government to get involved, but the government can support that as well. So we can do that. And then I got somebody who's raised the hand again, chat. Is it, I can't see the person, just a minute. Anybody wants to talk? There's someone who raised his hand, it's gone down again. Anybody want to talk?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Our power supply was
Lakshman,
cut
I
at
can say.
7:10. So most probably I'll be also cut from the program soon. Huh?
That's okay.
So
We
is
plan,
it
we will
power?
gather again next Sunday, so we can talk again. Yeah.
Right, till I'll be cut automatically. I'll be online.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Anything else there?
I think Lakshman is raising hand.
Yeah.
Is it okay, Pula?
Yeah, please go for it.
I just want to just want to make some analogy. This is already raised by Abe. Yes, disappeared now. Because after a major victory in 1970, with a large majority government of Ms. Bandaranaike, we had the 71 uprising. Okay. Then in 1977, President J.R. Jayawardena's government, 1988, we had a similar uprising of youth. Now, then we had the 30-year civil war. Now, 2019, again, the government has come with a very big majority, with a lot of aspirations in youth. I don't know where we are heading now, because always this large majority governments will be has been followed by the youth uprising. So because the current president is refusing to step down, and youth protesters are continuing their struggle on the streets. So where these two are going to end, I don't know. Question mark. Thank you.
Yeah, there are two other people who has raised hand as me say, yeah, Lakshman and Kirti. Just to mention just one thing. Once I was passing through Singapore during their elections, and the headlines on the paper was to say, never elect or vote for a failed politician. So a politician who has failed once, they will never elect him again. So this is a message that was there, but our situation is we are repeatedly bringing the same people again and again and again. So it's our fault. We don't know how to vote for something. So that's something we can talk about our voting system. Anyway, Mervin, you are there as well.
Now, before that, I raised the hand.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Go for it. Yeah. I lose it while you're talking. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I want to talk because I raised the hand first.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, yeah.
You go ahead.
I lost
Yeah.
it. Sorry.
Now,
Okay.
I'm going to raise a very contentious issue here, because Lakshman quite rightly pointed out, after big majorities, there were big problems. But Lakshman is correct. But all those problems were created by politicians for themselves, because they were not prepared to listen to people. They were always carrying out injustice to a group of people somewhere.
True,
now,
true.
The next one I'm going to say, you may not want to hear this, you may not like to hear this. The LTTE was created by Mrs. Bandaranaike and J.R. Jayawardena. LTTE was created by them. So the war, once it started, it's very difficult to stop, but it was created by Mrs. Bandaranaike and Mr. Jayawardena. That is the truth. I'm prepared to argue, as I said. So we should not give full credit to the army for destroying the LTTE, but we should recognize LTTE was created by politicians, including some of the people who are in power. Don't forget, Karuna was a very key member. He was a minister in this government. So when we give credit to the army, we should be careful that we are giving credit to the people who created the problem in the first place. I'm sorry about it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of my personal experiences, but I won't discuss that here. But I'll tell you, Kirti, later on. Any Mervin, your hand is there still?
Okay, yeah. One is I would like to just to follow up on Lakshman Dissanayaka's comment. You express a bit of concern. Young people are protesting out on the street. Where would it go? Citing the previous examples of how things got concluded. Now, at the moment, I'm an optimist. I know it's in the DNA of the current rulers to get the army out, and they have a track record of violence. But at the moment, I'm also mindful that they are very much under the spotlight of the UNHRC. And they are getting regular reminders to respect the democratic rights that they constantly claim and report back doing right. And also, not far from here in September, there is also the EU, the GSP Plus review is coming up. We are on the verge of losing that, which will add insult to injury. So I think if there are a few breaks, those are the things that might be holding them back a little bit from pressing that, what I call the Sri Lankan nuclear button, sending the army out. So I hope it prevails that way. And also the young people protesting have got some sort of moderating influence that they are desperately trying to not resort to violence to give army the opportunity. So just to comment on that. Just going back to the point that Salind raised earlier on, and hoping that this our discussion will be recorded and made available down in the future for other people, particularly for younger people to hear. And talking about the elected representatives, I'm a stronger supporter of demanding having the legislation to insist sometime or other all the politicians, first of all, wanting to stand for elections to declare their assets and also having to report back the wealth, the earnings. That's one thing. In addition to that, if we can create a list, one is setting up a minimum qualification, education qualifications. If it applies for jobs, why not for politics? That you need whatever it is, a degree maybe of relevant area, and the clarity. There should be no criminal record. That should automatically disqualify. You can't get a job in a bank if you have a criminal record. Why should they come to the parliament? The third one is they should come with the attitude to serve, having a track record of being in industry and employment, and record of successful delivery, not just having a few letters after your name. So you need to have a fairly good job description for people apply, before they can register to apply, come to politics, particularly to the parliament. Those are the points I would like to keep in mind when we push that way in future for a cleaner government. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've actually recorded that to be discussed as a later point about how we can make politicians accountable. One thing is all these elected positions should have something in the constitution to say that they are accountable. So they should come under the Public Service Commission if that's the case. So this has to come in the constitution, say all the elected people should be under Public Service Commission. That will sort out a lot of that. But we will talk about this later on, because it's another important aspect that we need to think about. So this thing is partly on the recovery aspect. So we will talk in the future, and all the things are recorded, and I don't edit any of the comments that's been given by people, and I'll put it on the web so it's available, so you can copy it to anybody for future. So let's go on like this. I'm sure we'll get good following with time, because we are honest. We just express our views, how to recover the country and improve. So there's another so some people have lost power at the moment. So that's what I'm getting messages about. And unfortunately, that is the case. So any other comments that you want to make, people who are remaining?
Sorry, I'm conscious I'm hogging there a bit too much today, but one other point that's dear to my heart, maybe for a future discussion. Sri Lanka, to reach its full potential to become a developed country, compared to possibly two other countries like Singapore or Dubai for that matter, we have far more resources. We should be ahead of them, if it was the case, if it achieved what it was capable of. One of the things that we are terribly wasteful on is our human resource. When you think of the number of people getting killed and maimed on road accidents, month after month, it's actual criminal negligence. That's one of the things, including young people, families going on motorbikes with toddlers and babies on motorbikes, complete families come into grief. So road safety is one issue. The other one is the poor healthcare. Increasingly, people are ill and malnutrition is going to kick in, and long list of them. And currently, when you think of the thousands and thousands on the streets day after day, the protesting or giving up, this is productivity lost to the country. And traffic jams, people held up for hours and hours from going to A to B, is productivity lost. All this human resource not producing. No wonder country has no money, and we are falling behind. So that's an area we need to be looking at, how to develop, build, and maximize our human resource.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we should be aware of our resources. Unfortunately, this is why all these countries coming behind us to extract all the resources that we have for very cheap money, and then, trying to get ownership of various areas. So resources is important, and we have to start thinking that the best wealth we have is our people, and we should invest in our people to get them stronger, to be productive for the country. And as you said, road traffic accident is another topic that I have actually earmarked to discuss in the future. It's a big waste for our country. We are losing 11 people a day because of this, and 11 get injured because if one get killed. So it's such a big mess, and it come to about 4% of GDP at the moment, the loss itself, because of road traffic accidents. This is something that we can talk about and improve. And I worked with traffic police in the past, but I know where the weaknesses are, but we can talk about it later on. Yeah, so very good. Thank you for all these good suggestions. And I think we will go forward. We got lots of ideas, and we can
There
focus.
are 2 hands up, by the way.
Sorry, yeah.
There are 2 hands up, not me.
Yeah, you have done that. And then Lakshman and Salinder's got the hand up as well again. And Lakshman
Yeah.
as well.
If you could allow me again to raise one more question. Now, what's your standpoint on being religious leaders being selected to the parliament? That is an area that I think that we need to discuss. It's the ugly truth that my personal view is that we shouldn't be voting for these monks to be selected. But I want you guys to tell me what's your thoughts are.
Well, this is what I put at the beginning. People are using religion for private gain. That's exactly what is happening. Whether with a robe or not is a different thing. So this is something, it's another part of corruption. That's what I highlighted at the very beginning. So that is important. So we don't have to say monks should not coin, but monks who are going to politics are actually politicians. They're not monks, basically. That's what it is, because they should be advising people. That's what the proper monks have done in the past in relation to Buddhism, but other religions too. And unfortunately, religions are used for private gain by politicians. And the politicians, the monks who are getting involved, are actually use the religion for their private gain as well. So it's corruption. So that's basically it. So democracy is that people can elect whoever they want, and we have to clean up, basically clean up and give the opportunity for proper people to come forward. So it's a long discussion for that. It will take another one whole discussion, discusses how to get the electoral process cleaned up. That's another thing that we can talk about. But let's start with simple projects and things that we can do, and then we can go forward. I'm pretty involved in the sense because I'm planning to retire soon and put some more time into this so that we can gather as much force as much as possible. And also, if anybody wants the regular communications from us, please send me an email saying you want to be included, because I don't include any email without their consent. So just send an email saying, please include my email, then I will include it. Otherwise, you will lose out that we are actually regularly meeting every Sunday. Thank you very much for today. And it's this new Lakshman Disanak has got a hand up again. Lakshman, you've got anything to say?
Just 1 minute, because this Mervyn raised the point of road accidents.
Yes.
The number is increasing. Now, I am concerned about another aspect. Recently, again, during a TV discussion, somebody mentioned Mrs. Chandrika Bandaranaike, when she was the president of the country, 1994-5 period, she has gone to attend an official event in Singapore, and she has asked Singapore Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, sir, what is your advice to develop the country? So he has advised Ms. Chandrika, Madam, you first you correct your road discipline, traffic discipline, road discipline. That is a starting point, but it has a big meaning. Now in Sri Lanka, whole society is corrupt, and road number of accidents is increasing. So there is a connection between these two. There's no discipline in the society. I mean, 95% of the society is corrupt. You go to a place, office, to get something done, they will ask for a bribe. Whole society is corrupt, not only the politicians. So it's the system. So just yeah.
That's one of the problems in the road accidents, because say the police will work only with the people who have no other means of escaping, and the others like politicians and everybody else can do anything and then run. Of course, I mean, I've treated children who's been run over by motor whatever that follow motor convoys that follow the politicians, and they didn't even stop. So the
Yeah.
people the injured children had to be brought into the hospital to be treated. So this is the kind of situation that was there. So I don't want to talk too much about these things, but let's think how to go forward. That's what we need to do. So please do send an email if you want me to keep you in the regular communication, and please spread the message to others as well if they want to come forward and talk about it. And I will try to put an outline into what we want to do, because most of the topics we need to actually bring out.
Oh, adun.
So
Orange juice dun.
most of the things we need to bring forward and discuss. So then people will learn the topic. So let's focus on one by one. I'll try and put an outline next time round before we talk on another topic next Sunday.
Tula,
So-
you can announce the next presentation.
Yeah, you want to talk about that today? I'm going to do a
You can
description.
just mention.
Yeah, so Professor Lakshman Desai is going to talk about, I think you want to tell your topic now itself, yeah?
Yeah, that is a development of, human resources development in SNT for economic development.
Yeah, great. So that's another very good topic we can talk about, and most of the things that we discuss are relevant for that as well. But I will try to make an outline so we know where we are working. Everyone knows where we are working, so that we know where we stand. So we need to have a good outline so that we will be more structurally work on topics one by one, and we'll get to the targets that we want. So ultimately what we want is a good governance, and we can get there if we all get together. So thank you very much. Please, Levan has raised his hand again. Levan?
Hello, good afternoon. I know Mervin there. Sorry.
Yeah, welcome.
And it's very nice to have this forum. I'm following the events in Sri Lanka with interest, and a lot of my friends and family are there actually doing the protest. And I asked one of my friends this morning, you got millions of people doing the marches and so on. Is there a figurehead? Like in the English Revolution, there was, there was a leader here. Like in French Revolution, also there was a leader who beat the, Oliver Cromwell here. Likewise, do we have a figurehead who is kind of leading the campaign? So you could put pressure specifically on the parliament to close the parliament, beat the parliament, beat all the MPs, and there's somebody behind the system change. Is there anyone visible?
Let's say somebody might emerge with the time. I don't know. We'll see how it's all going, because now Kirti was, and also we also talked about many false flag operations, because the natural protests get hijacked by people and they seem like they are the leaders. So let's keep the discussions going, and we'll see how we'll proceed. Yeah, because this is not one man show. This will be, there's a need for many professionals to lead various areas to improve the country as a whole. One person can't do it, and we've seen it in the past in Sri Lanka from 1970. It's not one person's job. So so they'll be needing a collective effort.
Voice. It's a collective voice at the moment. Yeah. So it might take weeks and months and years probably for the change to happen.
No. Yes, education takes time, but we'll probably be able to do it with the spread of the message. And if we can get these things done in Sinhalese and also Tamil, which is most important, then if somebody is willing to come forward and translate it or whatever, it will be good. I'm doing it in English at the moment, because then it makes this message go through to at least English people, and we should be able to go forward. So lots of things to be done, which will be good. But people have good ideas. Our good ideas come from our experience of 45 years of service. But the juniors can listen to this and think about these take forward, because what has happened in Sri Lanka is you push them out of the job saying you are retired like 55 or 60 years of age, and their best knowledge is forgotten and not even used. Now, here I'm trying to gather all that knowledge so that we can make use of this expertise we have and develop a model for Sri Lanka itself, saying how to recover from this, rather than to say I'm following this model or that model or China model or whatever. We got enough expertise to develop our own model of recovery. And this is because our cultural values are different. So we need to promote our cultural values, and then our system has to be developed based on those cultural values. So it's a big process. But anyway, we can talk about how to go forward, because I'm trying to outline these topics. So today we were trying to talk more about corruption, but please send the ideas, and I will take the opportunity to involve more people into it and discuss one by one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
If I may add a couple of things.
Yeah.
I think, Chula, you highlighted that you are at the moment doing it in English, which is the right thing. Of course, if one day we can have all 3 languages, that will be brilliant, because we should not forget that Tamils, and there are many other groups who don't understand Sinhala well. So we should not forget them at all. And
No,
also,
we're not forgetting at all. I'm trying to get people to try to translate, at least put subtitles.
Indeed, I understand. I fully understand it. I'm with you.
Yeah, we can do that. But unfortunately, what has happened is I've not even, so the leads, we have some people who were involved originally. So I didn't want to put any finances into this, because as soon as you put finances into this kind of project, it all get hijacked. So we are not collecting any money. We are not doing any membership fees, nothing at all. So we're just completely voluntarily doing it. And in the future, we may be able to recruit people, but that's a different story. But at the moment, if there are any volunteers who are willing to put some subtitles into our talks already done, that will be good, because then I can upload them as Sinhalese or Tamil.
The last thing I want to say is that these recent protests, I was very pleased to see that Muslims and Tamils and all kinds of people are working together with the Sinhalese people. So that was a very good sign to me.
Say, the simple story is, if you are born Sri Lankan, you are Sri Lankan. You are not anybody else. No other country is going to take you in. So we know that. And we also have the other way. Say, if, for example, a Sri Lankan emigrate to USA or somewhere, and they'll expect similar rights for them. So if another person from any other country comes to Sri Lanka and work for us, then we should also offer them the similar rights of being a citizen. So we have to work both ways to nurture, because say, for example, USA, if they think you've got talent, they'll immediately get you in there and then give you a car or whatever and get you to do the work. So this is the way it works. And the developed countries actually, to some extent, extract all the talent that we have in developing countries. Because basically, say, for example, if you're producing a doctor in Sri Lanka, we've invested the money to develop the doctor, but then they get extracted the same salary to work in a developed country. Then what happens is they have a massive bargain, because they have not invested in the development of that particular individual. So these are the things that we have to do, and we'll have to try and make sure that the staying in Sri Lanka is better than emigrating. So we got to get the environment in the other way around. So we can do that, because there's so much expertise that is there around here. So if we can collect all that and get people to lead small sections of their expertise into this thing, and we have a collective leadership, I think we will get there. We'll make an effort, and we'll say, Lakshman, you have your hand up again.
Yeah. Just I agree with Kirti. I want to add one more thing. Yes, this time this street protest is a multi-ethnic team. Sinhalese, English, the middle class, and it's a mixture of everything. So that way it's different from what we experienced in 1971 and 1980, late 80s, and also the 30-year-old civil war. So this one is different. I agree with Kirti 100%. And let me add to this. This time it has become international. Okay. Yeah. So 2 key features we have to identify. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So let's keep going like this, and then once we you know, have a better outlining of how we to go forward. We should be able to do better. So please do spread the message. Thank you so much. I hope we've had a good discussion today. And thank you for all your participation, and we'll meet again in a week's time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.